Welcome to this EDUcast, sponsored by Revo Labs and Telecom Reseller. Title of today's EDUcast is Configuring UC for End Users from the Huddle Room to the Boardroom. This is Gary Auden, and I'll be the host for this presentation today. And with me today is J.P. Carney, CEO of Revo Labs. But before we actually start the presentation, let's talk about what we're going to learn in this EDUcast. What is unified communications? Why sound quality is so important? Why should I connect to you if I can't understand you? We'll look at trends in the UC market. We'll look at challenges. We'll get into how to deliver an excellent conference call. We've got a couple of slides on what features end users really need. And this is important to both the enterprise and the reseller, is producing more revenue and profit in this environment. So let's go to the first slide, JP. What is UC?
So at a very high level, UC is really broken down into audio, video, data, everywhere that you're going to be. That's at a very, very high level. Obviously, audio has been around for quite some time. Data a little newer, but it's still been there. And video is probably the newest entrant to that paradigm. So when you look at what people do and where they're at, your ability to actually get your messages, your emails, whether you take a phone call or whether you're actually taking a call where you can video and text somebody while you're having a call or chat, much like we're doing, is the basic premise for it.
Now, this can be a complex operation. You need an architecture to do this. Some people look at this and say, let's build UC from the center, from the call manager outward. What are your comments about that?
Sure, it's an interesting dilemma because you do have to build from somewhere, and a lot of times people architect from a business point of view what they need, and they build it from the inside, and then they move out to the endpoints. At the same time, the endpoints are the most important objective is that the people wherever you're communicating or collaborating, that you have the most flexibility in how you're doing that. So it is quite a challenge, and I still believe today that most people are doing it from that core piece out, and then trying to make it work for their business's objectives.
As a technologist, I can see that viewpoint, but as an end user, I don't really like that viewpoint. So let's talk about the end user version.
Start looking at the end users. Obviously, that's the most important because I'm the guy on the road, or I'm the guy in my office or in my huddle room. I'm the guy that needs to use the technology, or the person that's using the technology. And everybody is so different. When you start talking about different types of jobs, different types of environments, and also different age brackets, everybody expects to communicate very differently.
Do you find that the end users have trouble describing what they really want in quality from UC?
So yes, they do, because different end users are different. Some people, we've been bred to accept really poor audio, if you will. In terms of cell phones audio is not very good, but because it allowed us to communicate early on, voice has always been a killer app. But now I'm in my car driving home, and I can talk to my wife, or I can talk to a customer in the East Coast or the West Coast or wherever in the world. It's really that flexibility it allowed me was really good. Well, now as there's a lot more different ways of communicating, and there's a lot more expectations, people are expecting better audio, better video, and just wherever they're at, they're expecting to be able to get their data and do everything they want right when they want, and not have to wait for to be bounded by the system.
But you're really talking about the word audio and audio quality. And in my opinion, if the audio's not good, then having video doesn't help at all, or having data doesn't necessarily help. Is that what you think as well?
Well, it's funny because in our company we have a lot of people that have come from the video world, and one of the sayings they always have in video is the best part about their video conferencing experience is the audio, because at the end of the day you can turn the video off, but you can't and still have a conference call or a conversation or collaborate, but you can't turn the audio off unless everybody's really good at sign language. So typically the audio does set the quality of the audio sets kind of how good that collaboration will be. And there's a lot to that, obviously, on top of that. I always laugh because the kids nowadays, they don't even use audio or video, they're texting. They're a dream for the network carriers because they use up dead space in between. So everybody does have different expectations. My personal is audio. I think most of the world is an audio first.
I would think just in things like customer service representatives deal on audio almost all the time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And even that paradigm is changing a little bit when you go when you're on a network, and you now have the ability to talk or chat with somebody via a quick browser communication piece. But in general, audio is still the number one transport, the number one way we communicate.
Now, we've been talking about UC and audio, but what do you see as trends in the UC community now in the market?
So there's an interesting trends that are going on. I think a lot of people are trying to figure out what UC really means. So different people are coming after it in different ways. You've got large guys like Cisco and other large UC vendors like Microsoft that are really looking at building UC from their point of view and from their platforms. And what you have is kind of this lack of convergence. I think everybody sees what UC is and understands it, but the interfaces and the ability for the different vendors to provide a good solution to the end customers or to their corporate customers or whoever they sell to is still a little muddled, and I think end customers are being left a little bit in the lurch there because they don't know which way they should go. They may like a piece from one customer or a piece from one vendor and another piece for video, for example, from a different vendor. And so during this transition time to UC, I think there's a lot of issues with how all this stuff is actually going to work together, all these different platforms. And then you have different ways of communicating at the endpoint. I think the BYOD is the biggest one that we hear for many end customers is how we're going to deal with the smartphones and tablets and wherever you're at. And it causes quite a problem for security, connections. And I think that as much as UC is really exciting and going forward, there's also a lot of growing pains that are going on in that space.
Well, then let's move onward and talk about some of the challenges we have here, especially to try to administer all of this.
Yeah, again, each of these vendors are thinking differently, and they're trying to use their proprietary platforms to kind of get there. So each time you do that, that interoperability becomes a very big stumbling block for most customers. I think that there's standards-based that are coming out. WebRTC has been pushing quite hard. But every time you have a common architecture or a common platform, it takes a long time for those guys to get traction. First of all, to actually adopt a standard or put the standard together, then to get the adoption. And so right now, a lot of that is still ongoing. You do see a lot more cloud-based services that are trying to help that interoperability. The SIP in general is really catching on. We're seeing a lot more people going to cloud-based services away from central units in their corporations. So I think that's the challenge that all the vendors are going to have going forward is how do you make everything well with your customer. Sure, you'd like to be the only vendor and sell everything, but that's not just the reality in a lot of cases. Until all these vendors can do everything perfect, it's just not going to happen.
But, we get into the non-technical issues like licensing or just bandwidth available for this, plus all the other compatibility issues. How do you approach those?
I think every vendor looks at these things differently. The reality is that those challenges are very real and not easily handled by any one vendor or one supplier. So we look at our customers and what we're doing for our piece in the audio, and we really try to make all our products as flexible as possible so that we can work with all different types of platforms. And I think you see that even in the larger vendors, as much as they don't want to, they stubbornly admit that they have to have other vendors. They don't want to, but if they don't actually make the hooks available to interface with other platforms, then they get into a lot of problems with actually selling the end customer their products.
So really what you're saying is it's always going to be an integration issue with multiple vendors.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think you're going to see is some of the solutions that end up winning in this space may not be the best solutions, but they will have taken into account the ability for the end customers, the ease of use, for not just for to implement it, but also to use it for their end customers. So you may give up a little bit on your video quality or your flexibility in the video or your data piece, but overall solution is going to be the best for the customers.
You just mentioned the word quality, and I think we should discuss quality of a conference call here for a few minutes.
You know, I mentioned earlier that you know, the expectation from cell phones is really low. People suffer from a lot of poor audio in those spaces. But we do see that you don't in enterprises, and when you're paying for your service and you're paying for your audio, people don't accept that poor audio. So we're seeing actually the exact opposite, more of a push for higher bandwidth, higher fidelity audio coming through in all these different ways that people are collaborating. And more importantly, not just from the audio but also the video area, is the ability to make it very simple for an end customer to walk into a conference room, for example, and be able to put a call through and have very good quality back and forth from both ends. Things like noise, double talk where you hear an echo back and forth, or worst case in a lot of times when you're collaborating with multiple people is when you actually can't, you start talking and you can actually stop the other end from interfering with you. They go half duplex. So things like that are just not very good for communication in general. You would never accept that if you were in the room with somebody, so you don't want to accept it. We're finding our customers not wanting to accept that with their high-end conference rooms or any of their conference rooms, huddle spaces, anytime they're collaborating.
Yeah, that gets into the end user's needs, and you've mentioned the first one, half versus full duplex. But what does echo cancellation mean to the user, and why is at the bottom of the screen frequency range so important?
Yeah, absolutely. So what happens is for echo canceling is when you say something and what you say plays out the far end speaker and then comes back through their microphones and you hear it yourself. It's called echo because you're actually hearing an echo back. And good audio processing devices will take that echo out. There's also a lot of other audio related type processes that go on in your standard conference phone or in your collaboration areas. It's removal of reverberation, it's noise reduction, noise floor going down, taking out the HVAC system where it kicks on and you hear the rumbling in the background that sounds like a Mack truck. All that is going on in the background, but also the range. So you hear a lot of people say wideband, you hear ultra wideband, you hear CD quality. The reality for human voice has energy out to about 14 gigahertz, kilohertz. And most of us, myself included in my age, is I don't hear anything probably past 11. Newborn babies and dogs can hear past 14, but that's about it. But there is a fullness that comes when you, so for cell phone, it's 360 hertz to 3.6K, which is good. But it really cuts your highs and your lows off, and the feeling that you get talking to somebody isn't there. I almost equate it to listening to music on a port like maybe an iPhone, which is not a bad platform, but if you listen to music on that and then you put it on your nice stereo and you get a full frequency range and you get that feeling from the lows and the highs, that's what you get out of speech. It also makes it the longer you talk to somebody, it makes the feeling of that communication much better. And so there's a lot of push in our space to go up to higher bandwidths and really take the human voice piece to get the full aspect of the human voice.
When people listen to these higher quality audio transmissions and then they go back to the old version, let's say on the PSTN or cell phones, do you find people get actually disgruntled?
Yes, it's very it's unsatisfying. And I'll go back to that analogy of using an iPhone to listen to your music. You can do it for a few minutes and it's fine, everything is okay. But if you're playing that thing loud and for any amount of time, and I'm talking on the speakerphone of that, versus listening to it on your stereo, it just starts to it's like nails on a chalkboard. It just starts to really get to you, especially if you're used to hearing it on a nice speaker system, and then you go to that. It's very, very difficult for people to accept that.
Let's go on. There's still some more need for the end users. Another slide here.
So yeah, so online collaboration is right now is big. I mean, we're collaborating right now and on this type of a protocol. We're seeing across the world people are, the way they do business, the way they train, the way they get to their customers, the way they get to their own employees is a lot of different ways. And being able to use these online collaboration, toolkits with, WebEx and Microsoft and different platforms is very, very important. And again, we talked about the different ways. There's IP, there's telephone, there's video, all these different types of things, and the ability to bridge from one type of platform to another is becoming a very big issue with end users. Again, I don't want to have to, if I'm using my cell phone, I'm a salesperson on the road, I don't want to have to pull in and use, you know, a payphone or dock my computer in order for me to have to be part of a collaboration event. If I want to dial into a conference call, I want to use my phone. I don't want to have to use my PC. So that whole bridging and that ability to do all that is very important for end customers.
Now, this is all nice technology discussion, but there's got to be reasons behind this for the reseller and reasons behind this for the enterprise of going this route more than just simply it's better.
Absolutely. And I think if you start at the very end, at the end of the line where the person who's using it or the company that's using it, there's a lot of advantages to having good communication, whether with all different, however you're communicating. The reality is if most people are in some level are communicating in groups, and if you don't, or communicating with groups, most people don't sit in their office all day and not talk to anybody. And the more effective those interfaces are, the better off you are. And nowadays, a lot more people are not working in the same or coexisting in the same environment where you can walk down the hall or you have conference rooms that do everything. You're talking to people across multiple areas. So the more effective you are, the more you can save on time and energy. But also you can have people working outside the office that are much more effective. And there's been a lot of studies on the return on investment, the ROI on putting in good technology, and those all work. At the end of the day, the primary driver, again, is back to audio. Having a good audio interface where people can collaborate as if they're face-to-face makes a massive difference in how well an organization runs, and how effective they are.
Now, you're the CAO of Revo Labs. Where do you fit into this whole environment?
So we focus on the audio aspects. We have for quite some time. Our original roots are at the very high end. We came out with wireless microphone systems to improve audios in the very high-end boardrooms. You'll see us in about 80% of the Fortune 100 companies, typically at their highest, their high-end boardrooms or in their training rooms in that type of area. And since then, again, we focus on all the audio aspects, and we've moved down. We have conference phones. We do microphone systems for different type of applications, but everything from the desktop all the way through the boardroom, that's where we focus. It is kind of interesting because even though we're newer into the tabletop conferencing area, we are the world's largest producer of IP phones. We supply the largest IP manufacturer of their phones. We OEM it for them. So we have all these echo canceling, all this noise reduction, all these cool technologies to make the audio sound better that nobody actually knows is going on in the background, but delivers you a great experience. That's what we focus on.
Yes, it showed me a picture here of all the kinds of products you have out there, and all of these are high-quality audio systems?
So yeah, so these are what we consider to be our UC family of products. As I mentioned, we started in the boardroom, which is more of an installed high-end experience. These are our conference phone family. We are part of Yamaha, and so you'll see some of Yamaha's products in here as well, which we distribute for them, or we sell throughout the world for them. We start at the bottom, the UC500, which is really a USB conference phone, but it has all the functionality and the high-end presence that you would expect if you were walking into your corporate boardroom. It has a dual speaker in it that allows it to be very loud, and you can hear it in a larger room, and it also has great mic pickup. And again, plugs in for those UC clients that are PC-based, your Skypes, your Link, your Jabra, you name it. We work with every video, any platform that's using the PC as an interface or as a network interface. We also have in the middle our Flex product, which is all wireless. It has the middle cylinder is a wireless speaker, has two wireless mics on the side, and a wireless dialer, which allows you to be very flexible, move the microphone speakers anywhere in the room you need it to be, get great audio pickup. And that has multiple, again, the UC theme for us. We try to plug into as many different things as possible. So that actually has a POTS interface. It has a VoIP interface. It has analog in and out, so you can go into video as well as into your the ability to bridge the different types of calls together. And we actually, for the Road Warrior, you can plug a Bluetooth into that as well and use your phone as your protocol. Our newest product that's coming out, we're shipping this month, is the UC1000 in the far left. And that is a complete IP phone. It again has that nice center speaker, dual element, designed as a real high-end fidelity speaker. To the point earlier about the fullness and richness that you get that makes the environment, the sound quality much better for collaboration, and also has a full SIP stack and works with all your standard vendors that you would expect. And over on the far right, we have the Yamaha branded PJP20, which is a kind of the Road Warrior USB speakerphone, smaller. You can throw it in your bag. It plugs in directly into the USB and gives a nice experience for more of that travel, move around type feel. And on the bottom is the YVC 1000, which is a speaker console that can sit in the front near where the video station is, and it allows you to be your speakers to be coming from where the video is or your monitor is, and then the speaker pods will go across, or the microphone pods go across the table, and you can have multiple microphones for great audio pickup across the room.
No, I think that covers a lot of stuff for us, and we're coming to the end. I'm just putting up a last screen here. Randy Lee, Director of Marketing, would be your contact to learn more about this, and you have the phone number and the email address and the website. So I thank you very much for your information and appreciate it.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to attend.